Hello everyone, hope you all are doing great. I am Partharu, Events and Program Manager for Microsoft Reactor Bengaluru. And yes, I welcome you all for today's session. But before we start our today's event, let's go through our code of conduct. We are all here to learn together, participate together. So please be respectful of other people's views, understanding the differences, be kind and considerate in a way we all engage. Yes, we do encourage you all to participate. Please drop all your questions in the comment section and we'll pick it up from there. Now, I would not like to delay further. I have two great cloud advocates at the backstage. I would like to bring them in on screen now. Hey, Olivia. Hey,
Hello,
Renel.
Mark.
How are you
Hi.
all doing?
Good. Thanks so much for having us here. It's going to be a fun day.
Yeah, it's gonna be awesome. Excited about it.
That's great. I am joining from India. Where are you all joining from?
I'm in South Carolina in the U.S., so East Coast time on the coast.
And I'm right next door in Los Angeles. Actually, it's not next door; it's far away.
In the grand scheme of things, it's kind of next door.
Yeah. Worldwide, like if you take the whole solar system
exactly.
into account, we're next door to each other.
Exactly.
That's great. Let's get started. The floor is all yours.
Cool. Sounds good. All right. Well, hello, everyone. Like we said, we're super excited to be here. I'm Olivia. I'm a cloud advocate on the VS Code team. And we're here with Reynold as well.
Hi, I'm also a cloud advocate.
Nice. Repping the team. Okay, so what are we doing here today? We actually had a live stream yesterday called Agent Mode Day on the VS Code channels. And it was a really cool day, jam-packed session, kind of just talking about the latest AI features in VS Code. But we recognize that not everyone might have been able to join, whether due to time zone differences or just conflicts in your schedule. So we wanted to take an hour today to just kind of do a nice recap of some of the top of mind features from that. So that way we can hear from y'all, get your feedback, definitely ask questions in the chat as we go along. Because yeah, we just kind of want to demo what the latest things are that you want to know with GitHub Copilot and VS Code. Cool.
Yeah.
Sound good, Reynold?
I mean, the other thing I wanted to add is even if you did see it yesterday, this could be like another opportunity to just ask us just live, just to experiment with like a couple of things if you want, or just have like some additional questions, and we could do it impromptu. So yeah, excited. I have like a couple of things, and as well as Olivia, that we want to just showcase from our perspective, and we're just gonna treat this as like a part 2 mini version.
Yeah, and just hanging out with y'all, vibe coding, seeing what goes. To Reynolds' point, just so y'all are aware of what we'll cover today, we'll do some agent mode stuff, bring your own key, next edit suggestions, and some MCP server spotlights. So if any of those are things top of mind for y'all, you're definitely in for a treat. So we're excited to just hang out with y'all. Cool. Well, should we dive in, Reynolds?
Yeah, let's go ahead and do that. So this is live. Anything can happen. You heard that before. It's funny how everyone does like those disclaimers. It's like anything,
yeah,
you know, ahead of time.
And especially when you throw in AI. Like I feel like live demos were older. You're like, oh, something's gonna happen now with AI. Who knows?
Yeah.
We'll see.
And like honestly, for me, like when you really think about it, that's fine because it just shows that these are the things that most people are going to be experiencing when they're doing it on their own. And you could just see how like some of us like just have our own way of troubleshooting. So to get start off, the first thing that I want to get out the way, because it's a little flaky, but it's like really new, is demonstrating BYOK, which stands for bring your own key. So if any of you guys are new to using AI in VS Code and you're familiar with like some of the models that we have, I'm gonna go ahead and share my screen so you can see what I'm talking about. This is an opportunity for the times that there might be a model that's not available that you could try to add it. So let me bring up my screen here.
And then when you're doing that, I see there's a question saying, what is VS Code? So yeah, if y'all haven't used VS Code before, now's an amazing time to get started. But it's a code editor that works with a lot of different languages, really cool extensions in there. And one of those extensions is GitHub Copilot. And it's really integrated into the entire editor experience. So you get those AI features right at your fingertips.
Okay, so right from our documentation, this is where they have, yeah, bring your own key. They just have like a short explanation of what it is. So I'll go ahead and put this in the chat, or maybe our producer could do it. But in VS Code itself, let me go ahead and start off a session here. So right over here, you can see there's like several different models. On my end, what I did is I added Grok 3, and that wasn't there before. So like the first thing, if you haven't experimented with this, is you'd want to create your own key. And like if you just like went, like if it was Grok, you could just go to their website to go ahead and create key, and then you'll end up having this long string, which is like the actual key that you will end up using when you set it up. And if you did want to set it up, essentially you just would want to come down to manage models. And now initially when I was experimenting with this, Olivia, you were here. I went to Grok logically because I wanted to use like the Grok key to try to set up, but then we ended up like having like some issues. So what we ended up doing was going to Open Router, and if you go to set up your own key, then you could go ahead and paste in the key that you have, and then you'll have like an option to choose the model, and it will bring it up. I don't want to like mess it up right now.
Or like expose our API key or anything.
Yeah. But like once you have it, then you can go ahead and use this to just pretty much ask it anything. And ideally it still works. And if it doesn't work, then I'll go ahead and try to like reset it up again for you.
And yeah, so Reynolds kind of mentioned this at the start, is that your mileage may vary with your experience with this, because this is a preview feature. And so again, if you're kind of new to like the VS Code ecosystem, when we say something's in preview, it's something we want to get in your hands, but it hasn't quite made it to that stable state yet. So there's kind of changes being made every day. You might see some flakiness here and there, but we want to get it out there for y'all and for your feedback.
Okay, so right there, it answered it. All right, you know what, Olivia? As a matter of fact, now that it answered it, now you see that it works.
Yes.
Now let me go ahead and pretend that it did.
Let's do it. Let's do it.
Yeah, and then show you exactly how it is. Because so let's say this didn't work. What I would want to do is just come here and go to. Is it going to highlight what does it say? Reconfigure OpenAI open key. And this is where I'm going to come in and paste in the key. So let me copy that. And I could paste it here. It's going to do the dots. All right. Unless you guys can figure out what the dots mean, that would be impressive. If you can, let me know. And there you go.
Yeah, it gives you a whole list of all the models for that provider. So in the previous kind of screen, it showed all the different providers that you could get an API key for that we support in VS Code. And so then, like Reynolds just showed, once you have that API key entered, it will go ahead and pull up all those models for that provider, and you can pick which one you want to use. And then it will show in that model picker that Reynolds been showing, and it's right in the Copilot pane.
Yeah, just like that.
And I would like to know, like, chat, are y'all familiar with Copilot? Do you want us to give you like a really quick overview of the panel? Or are you like, no, let's just dive right in? Just let us know in the chat and we can kind of go from there. But otherwise, Reynolds, you can keep showing your demo.
Yes. Okay, so that's essential. It's essentially it for the bring your own key, just so that you know you have like that option to bring it up like that. There was one thing I wanted to say right at the top before I switch to my next topic was, if you could see, we have our VS Code shirt.
We do.
Yeah, and oftentimes people are always asking where you guys could get it. Let me see if I could bring that up real quick. Shirt, VS Code shirt.
Cool. And then I see in the chat that there's some people saying we asking for a brief overview of the Copilot experience in general. So we can do that. But yeah, definitely good plug for the shirt.
Like, oh, yeah. Is this a commercial?
That's what I'm really here for, right?
People are always asking, so I'm just like, let me just get it out the way right now.
Yeah, people were asking a lot in yesterday's live stream. So yeah, if you want to match us in VS Code, check it out.
Yeah, hold up. Let me just put that right here. Can I join the chat and do that?
I don't know. Probably.
Okay. Well, anyway, producer, yeah, you got it right there if you want it. I put it in our personal chat, so he could do it.
Cool.
All right. So, what they mentioned that they wanted to see a little bit of Copilot.
Yeah, just like an overview of what the GitHub Copilot chat pane is, and I can even give just like a really just verbally quick overview of what GitHub Copilot is. I see Prince, for example, you say, I know Copilot within Microsoft Teams. So this is where it gets like a little confusing sometimes, because there is Microsoft Copilot, and that's what you're going to see like in your Microsoft products. So Teams, within like Word, things like that, that is Copilot. What we are showing is GitHub Copilot. So that's going to be your pair programming assistant. So essentially it integrates right into VS Code. So as you are coding, it can do things like completions while you're typing code, or what Reynolds showing, which is my favorite part of Copilot, is kind of this chat panel here. And in the chat panel, you can then ask GitHub Copilot questions. You can have GitHub Copilot edit your files. And you can also do something called agent mode, which is really cool. And Reynolds actually going to demo that. That kind of takes the best of all of that. It will edit your files, as well as provide tools like commands that you can run in the terminal. And it's kind of more of that autonomous peer programmer. So a lot of really cool different options you can do there. I see, Prince, you see Copilot's an alternative to ChatGPT. You can kind of think of, with GitHub Copilot, you can think of the ask mode kind of similar to that too, for coding. So yeah, if you're familiar with ChatGPT, it's kind of like having your own coding version of that right within the editor. So the big benefit here is that you don't have to context switch. It's all integrated into your editor. And if you're new to VS Code, if you haven't used GitHub Copilot, it's a pretty seamless experience to get set up. You just need a GitHub account, and there is a whole Copilot free tier. So you don't have to put in a credit card. You don't have to pay anything if you use that free tier. There are also options to get kind of elevated limits with a Pro and Pro Plus plan. But if you just want to get started, the Copilot free plan is absolutely the way to go. And like I said, it's a pretty quick walkthrough to get set up there.
So like right now, I just started just like one file, the index file, and the initial, like if you went back and saw some of our early Copilot demos, we focus a lot on how it could help you complete your code as you're typing, hence AI assistant, as if like, you have like two people pair programming. But we've gotten a lot further now with what a few things Olivia just mentioned. But on the most basic level, this is GitHub Copilot, where it helps you like code as an assistant. And yeah, it is confusing because there's like a lot of Copilot terms, but just think of like the full name, GitHub Copilot, which is what we're going to be talking about today, along with its little universe. And then there's with Teams, Office, that's Microsoft Copilot, or sometimes like now they just might just say Copilot. I'm not sure what the latest term is.
Yeah.
We're figuring it out. But GitHub Copilot for us, the software developers, that's what we're working with. Okay. So that's like a simple demo right here. But now if I wanted to make it just do a little bit more without just me doing like a lot of the work, I can go ahead and come to Copilot Chat, and Chat is more like Chat GPT because you could just interact with it through its interface and then ask it like some questions, which is so much like a cooler experience, because before Chat came out, what we were doing was coming here and you could actually ask it questions, which this is not like the right way. This is kind of like ghetto now to do it like this. But you like through the comments, what we're doing is asking a question. You could like literally ask it a question in the comments and then it would respond. I don't know if this even still works because we've just changed it. It's like, let me ask it like, what is solid, right? That's like some principles in programming. It might not even work. It starts answering it, but I wanted to know like the acronym. So this is not what you want to do anyway, but that's what we were showing. But like now,
and we'll even show that a little bit in my demo too, like the completions experience. So we can do an overview of that as well.
Oh, okay. Yeah. But like now, the way you want to know is, in coding, what is solid? And I should tell you what that acronym stands for. It's a very popular interview question. I don't remember like all the exact terms. And like right now, I just typed the question, but in Copilot Chat, we could also use our voice commands. So there it is. It's a set of 5 design principles in object-oriented programming. And now it's going to break it down. S is for single responsibility. It's thinking hard for this. It's like, I don't even remember this.
It's still on Grok. Like maybe it's like
oh
taking a while. Yeah.
Yeah. You know what? Yeah, let's get rid of Grok right now and go to let's say 4.5. Cool. Glad you point that out. Yeah, good point. So now instead, let me just ask it through voice. Explain to me what solid is as if I were a 12th grader.
And Shivani in the chat says, my response on GitHub Copilot was a little different. Why do we see this difference? That's a great question. And honestly, like even if Reynolds sent the exact same question like 5 times in a row right now, he's probably going to get something a little bit different every time. And that's because what the model does in the background when you send a question is it basically an LLM basically predicts the next word that's going to come. And so it's kind of just using probabilities to pick what the best response is. And so you're going to see a little bit of a variation there. And you're also going to see a variation between models. So if Reynolds asks the same question to GPT 4.0 versus GPT 4.5, you're going to see different responses there. So that's kind of just the state of AI. You're just not going to always get the exact same regurgitated thing because it is always working with different training data and making those different predictions and probabilities.
Cool. And also, like the internet constantly is changing, right? Like certain, definitions and explanations are pretty consistent, but it kind of would make sense that as like we're grabbing stuff from online, things might tweak a little bit. But yeah, so it would make sense that the answers change slightly, which is another good reason why you need to be able to know how to prompt like a few times. And like me personally, like when I'm using AI, I like to just experiment in a few different ways just to make sure I'm really getting like the answer. I could just go through old school Google and then like use AI or vice versa, just as a comparison point. I think it's a bad habit to just go right off the first answer and then assume everything's perfect and then that's it. You should always be double checking. Um, so in fact here, I'm going to be shifting to talking about agent mode. And so I could probably just start off here as using this as an example. So we talked about solid. Maybe I could use agent mode to demo that. But
Yep.
agent mode itself, it's 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 Copilot on steroids, if I were to just to use like some generic term, because it not only could complete like code just like in one area like I just demoed, but it could do it with multiple files and also execute commands, and it looks at your entire environment when it's executing. And to get into agent mode, you'd want to come over here, and instead of going from like ask, you'll go to agent mode. And while I'm like demoing this, you could feel free to skim like our doc that covers that in a little bit more detail. Olivia, is there anything you wanted to add more about agent mode?
No, I think that is kind of a good summary of if you're used to the chat interface, this then just adds, you still have the same sort of prompting abilities, but now it adds other capabilities that GitHub Copilot can do. So it can edit your code, it can help run terminal commands. It basically just is even more integrated in your process. So you don't need to do things like copying code over or anything. It will just go ahead and edit the files directly. You don't need to copy a terminal command directly. You can just hit run the terminal command and it will do that. So it's basically just kind of taking it a next step further.
Yeah.
And then there's a question in the chat about how can I get GPT-4.5? There are a ton of different models available in GitHub Copilot right now. And depending on what Copilot plan you're on is going to vary for which models are available. So we'll just post a link in the chat so you can kind of see which models are available for each, because that will be a little bit easier.
Okay, so why don't I go ahead and just ask it something based on solid. I'm going to ask it, and I haven't done this before, so you're seeing this in real time with me, but I'm going to ask it like to create a simple app, but then using the solid principles. But I'm not going to tell it which app. So I want to see like what it thinks is like a best demonstration of solid principles. And then I'm going to ask it to explain to me like where each principle is. So you want to try that?
Let's do it.
Okay. I'm learning about the solid principles. Can you please create a small app that demonstrates each of the principles in solid and then tell me where those principles are or how those principles are implemented? Okay, open an empty folder to continue. All right. Is it going to do it for me? All right. I'll say demo 1. This is interesting. We should have background music. It
I
seems like
know,
there isn't a predefined project setup for demonstrating solid principles. I'll create a small one. All right, cool. I mean, that's what I asked you to do, but
yeah.
okay.
This is all live, y'all. So this is always like we were saying, like you don't always get the exact same experience every single time because it is kind of reaching back out to that model every single time. And you'll see right now it's going ahead and actually making those edits straight to the file.
Yeah, look at that. All right, so it started and it says, make sure you have like Node installed. I believe I have Node installed. Compile with TypeScript. Okay. And then there's 2 changes that are already made. I'll go ahead and keep it. I'm almost guessing at this point because it's like.
Do you want to click on the file just so people can see what the changes are?
Before keeping it?
Yeah, just so people can see like what it looks like in the editor when it makes these changes.
Yeah, let's go ahead and do that. All right, so this file didn't exist. So this is just a brand new file that it created. Okay, so there's like really like no changes here. This index file was untouched. And this README was also brand new. So really it's just saying you want to keep these new files that I made. So let's go ahead and do that. See, if there was already an existing project and it started making the changes, then we could like pick and choose what we want to change or ignore. But since I asked it to do something from scratch, that's not really the case. All right, so right here, let's look at this first because I asked it to explain to me, like to point out where some of these principles are being implemented. So single responsibility, a class should have only one reason to change. And then I guess then right here, it has like the class. Okay. See, I was thinking it was going to be like, this class isn't going to change because we did it like this, blah, blah, blah. But it gave it just enough to get started. And I suppose if I want to ask it more questions, I could. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and I think that that's a good call out that like this is an iterative process. So you'll do one prompt, and then if you want different changes, you can just keep prompting. It has all of that context still within your conversation, so you can just do follow-up questions within Copilot as well.
Yeah. And so like the second principle here, classes should be open for extension but closed to modification. Like when you're coding, right, you don't want to have to be like changing that class all the time. Ideally, it should have some core functionality, and then you should just be able to like extend it to add like more modifications. So, and oftentimes people use interfaces for that. So that's what you see here, like an interface to demonstrate that principle. So that's kind of cool. The next principle, subtypes must be substitutable for their base classes. Okay. And then, and then they finish explaining it. So that's kind of interesting, right? Yeah, and then the last principle dependency of inversion, and they give a demo of that.
So yeah, the cool thing is here, like Rendell didn't have to copy and paste this code over into the editor. It just automatically made those edits there. And so that's a really cool benefit of both Copilot edits and agent mode. Agent mode, there's a question in the chat that I answered, but kind of builds on top of edits. So it can do things like edit your code directly. And then it can also offer different tools. So Ronald, I don't know if you want to like just ask it, be like, how would I run this code, and see if it offers you a terminal command that you can just
Yeah, because
on
earlier.
directly.
So here it is right here. Let's do this.
Yeah, so I was hoping it would do. Can you like just prompt it
This, how would I run
again?
it?
Yeah, and just be like, how do I run it, and see if it gives like that tool example. Okay, it's doing the same thing. So, well, I mean, it's a live demo. So this is kind of like the more traditional experience where it will kind of just give you the option to copy into the terminal, which is totally a valid way to do it. But we'll try to later on in some of the demos see if we can get agent mode to really show you like what the tooling is, so you can see what the difference is between that and edits.
Okay. So why don't we move on to a second demo? Ready for that?
Ooh, let's do it.
Okay. So close this out and let's go to a new folder that I set up. It's just a blank slate. Demo 2.
Cool. And then while Reynolds getting that set up, I see that we had some requests for some Java content. If there's any other certain content that people are looking to see, we won't be covering that today, but we'd love to just get your feedback for what sort of VS Code content you're looking for. And we're always happy to come back on and do different demos and pass that along to the team to get that content to you.
Yeah, we could definitely do that in the future, because ideally it should be behaving similarly, except it's just using like Java, or if you decided to just do it in .NET, right? So right now, what I want to do is a very common app that sometimes you're prompted to do in interviews are CRUD apps, like for creating, reading, updating, deleting the content in behind the scenes. And I'm gonna ask it to create like a to-do app, and then it's probably gonna create like a boring looking one at first, or maybe even like non-functioning. Either way, then we can make it work and look better. Let's see how that works.
Yeah, let's do it.
Can you go ahead and create for me a CRUD app for a to-do list, and make it show the add, delete, and edit button? I'm gonna put like I should consider putting a feature request, so we have music in the background while it's thinking.
Yeah.
How about that?
That's gotta be, I feel like there's gotta be a way to like make an extension that does that. Do you want to switch to agent mode? You're actually still in ask mode.
Oh, is it still in ask mode? Let's go ahead and switch it to agent mode and do it again.
That's actually a great plug. So usually it will kind of default to ask mode in a new window. So if you want to switch to one of the different modes, you'll just want to make sure that you have that set.
Now I kind of want to do it again in agent mode. Let's do it again.
Yeah.
All right. Okay, it didn't save anything. So yeah, so let's ask it right now. I'm gonna erase this. Create me a CRUD app that's a to-do list that will show the add, edit, and delete button, and also make it look nice, and do this all with HTML, CSS, and JavaScript. I love that even if you misspeak, it kind of like figures out. It's like, I know what you're talking about.
It does. It does the same thing. Like if you're typing and you have a typo, it's like, okay, I got you. I know what you mean.
Okay, I'll create a simple CRUD to-do list. Okay, let me start creating this. All right. First, I thought it stopped. I was just like, okay, I'll do this. And it's like, I didn't see it spinning, but it was working behind the scenes. All right, it created like these 3 files here. I'm going to go ahead and keep everything. Keep. Let's get rid of this welcome. Okay, our JavaScript file and our CSS. Let me bring up the preview here. Oh, look at that. It actually didn't make it look too ugly. I practiced this a little bit before the stream, and it was ugly. It was like no CSS, whatever. Let's see if it just works right here instead of bringing up a browser. Bread. Look at that.
Nice.
That's not bad looking.
Yeah, it's nice when you get like something pretty functional. I feel like that's kind of the big things. A lot of times you have to kind of iterate over like what the styling looks like. And different models are going to kind of give different styling. So I really like using Claude 3.7 for like UI things. I think that it usually gives pretty good responses. But it's definitely kind of try out different models, see which one works best for your workflow. Because GPT-4 got this whole functioning to-do app in one shot.
All right. So my delete function worked. I'm trying to add it. Like I was going to add, instead of salmon, I was like, oh, no, I didn't want salmon. I wanted lox. I don't know. I guess it's technically salmon. Do you guys know what the difference is between salmon and lox? I
always assume they're the same. I don't know.
When I started making more money, then I learned about lox. When I was broke, I didn't know about lox. Fancy people ate lox. Now I worked hard so that I could eat lox. So let's try to fix this and see why I can't edit. Or maybe I should just go straight to a browser and see if it's just because we're in preview here. Okay. Bread. Oh, so it does work actually.
Oh, it just needs the full browser experience.
Yeah, I was hoping that it didn't work so that I could tell it, make it fix it. So yeah, so now we come in here, you see that I could change that to lox.
Nice.
It's like, yeah. All right, cool. So why don't we try to make it look a little bit better?
And then right before you do that, can you just show the model picker again one more time? Shivani in the comments asked how you can change which model is used.
Oh, okay. Yeah, let's see if I could ring this. Well, so here's the model picker right here. Right now we have a couple of versions of Claude, 3.5 and 3.7, Gemini, GPT-4.1, 04, and then this one that I added earlier. Okay. Yeah, you guys, if you want to tell me to try something here, we could do that. But for now, I'm going to go ahead and ask it to make the UI even better. And then I want to move on to my next demo because that'll take a little bit of time. How are we doing on time, Olivia?
I think we're doing good because I think we can go past the 1 hour mark if you're good with that, Ronald.
Okay. All right. So I'm going to go ahead and ask it to make the UI look better and then add some fancy feature because I have like a writer's block. So I want to see what else it could add. Can you make the UI look better? It's still a little bit boring. Add some pizzazz in the background. And then add a feature that would be cool to have for this, but I don't know what to think of, but I want to impress my colleagues.
Love it. And if y'all are wondering how Reynolds talking right now, basically there's the microphone icon there. And so you can just click that within the Copilot prompt space, and it will prompt you to install the VS Code speech extension, which lets you just talk to Copilot, which is super helpful because it really gives you kind of that more experience of like just brainstorming, thinking out loud, like, and kind of cuts down the time.
Did you notice, Olivia, while it was working, does it not prompt you this? I could just check again next time to keep or undo it. That doesn't show until it's done, right?
Right. Yeah, it shows it like at the end of the turn of the prompt.
So that-
and you can just keep building off of it too. You don't have to like keep every single time. It will just kind of keep the changes until you say keep or undo.
Okay. So it said that it added a gradient background to make the app visually appealing and add subtle animations for task addition. Okay, that's interesting. And the cool feature, it says that it added a mark as done feature to strike through for completed task. Well, okay, so let's bring that up.
Interesting background color choice. Oh, I see. Okay, it's like moving. Okay.
Is it move? Oh, I see.
It's like a.
You see that?
Yeah. At first I was like, oh, weird, but it's kind of fun.
Okay. There's a little bit of out. Oh, look at that. You see that?
Nice. Okay. Little shadow.
Aw. All right. Ham. What else? Why am I fish? Okay, so now let's say I delete the corn. Wasn't it supposed to? Didn't it say it was going to strike through?
Yeah, I think if you said done.
Oh, I see right there. Yeah, there you go. Look at that. That's cool.
Nice.
And
do you want to zoom in a little bit, Reynolds?
yeah, sure.
But yeah, people are saying it's really cool and exciting to watch. Like,
it's like buy fish and buy a bike. How about that for a shopping list?
nice.
And let me just add one more. Tomatoes. Oh no, am I gonna get it spelled right? I think that's wrong, actually. I don't know.
No, I think that's right.
Is that right? Okay. Yeah, the demos are right, but he doesn't know how to spell tomatoes. I don't know if I can trust this guy.
Copilot can't help you here. You misspell it back in VS Code, it can.
It's like, hey, look, I'm here to code. Learn how to spell first, and then come back, and then we could code again. All right. Oh, that's cool. I like that. All right, so let's go ahead and try to do something a little bit more advanced. Let's try to create a game, okay?
Okay, let's do it.
All right, so I'm gonna go ahead, close this, and then open up my new folder for demo 3. And then I'm gonna ask it to create an old school game called Pac-Man. I feel like even like new human beings know how to have heard about Pac-Man.
You're just born knowing what Pac-Man is.
Yeah. All right, so we're gonna start with Copilot, and it defaults to I've learned now. We need to go and remember to change it to agent mode, and let's ask it. Can you create the game Pac-Man for me and try to make the UI just like how it looked like in the 80s? And I want to be able to play the game using the cursor keys on my keyboard. And yes, do that for now.
Nice. I love that. I love you showing like how specific you're like, okay, I want it to look just like this. And so let's see if it can replicate that.
Oh, okay, it's doing it with HTML, CSS, and JavaScript. Like I wanted to keep it like as simple as possible to start with.
Cool. So we see those edits being streamed in.
It's amazing. Can you imagine if only like you knew how to use something like this and no one else knew?
Right? Yeah, you're just like, oh yeah, I can do that, no problem. People are like, how'd you do that so quickly? I mean, honestly, there's still like a lot of people not using GitHub Copilot. So like if y'all aren't using this, it's like it's a very good way to kind of level up your coding flow.
All right. Let's bring up the preview and see how that looks.
There he is. Nice.
There's Pac-Man, but I don't see anything else so far.
He's gonna be hungry.
Oh, look,
You didn't know?
I'm using the cursor key and I can go right. Okay. So it's weird. It's like I'm using the right cursor key and it's going left.
It's going backwards.
Yeah. And when I use the left, it's going right, but it's not going further. When I go up, nothing happens. When I go down, it goes up. Isn't that weird?
That is weird. I mean, yeah.
Oh, actually, you know what? That's not even doing that. Look at this. It's my cursor keys is actually moving the page, so it's not even moving Pac-Man. Okay. All right. Hold on.
That's funny.
But this, I think I need to do keep done.
You actually don't even have to do that. You can just keep going through the conversation.
Okay. So, let me tell it. Something's wrong. I am looking in the preview and Pac-Man is not moving. How do I execute this, or do you need to fix the code? While the game loop is running and Pac-Man is being drawn, there is no logic to update Pac-Man's position. Okay. Based on its direction. So I guess
It just
it wanted me to give more info. So it added some code to give Pac-Man the ability to move. So let me go.
If you open this in a full browser, it'd be easier to see.
Yeah, let's try that.
And then Prince in the comments says, "Wait a minute, is VS Code now like Claude or similar apps?" Okay, so there's the full look. Is it moving though? And if you mean like just having basically AI integrated into the coding experience, it can generate code and it can even help you execute code, then yes, it is. And so with the GitHub Copilot capabilities, you can have that.
Right cursor key, left cursor key, up and down. All right, we're cooking.
Nice. And this is actually David in the comments just said, what's the limitation of Copilot in the world of coding? I assume that it can make mistakes, and as such, us humans will still need to do code reviews, et cetera, to ensure it is correct and working. I mean, yeah, Reynolds literally just showed that too, because it didn't quite get it right on the first try. And so you kind of can work with it to prompt, get more specific with what you need. And then, yeah, I absolutely think that you should still always review the code that it does. One, from a security perspective, make sure that there's not anything you don't want in there. But then two, make sure it follows your styles, make sure that it is exactly what you're looking for and there's not any unexpected functionality. I always think of GitHub Copilot as just another tool that you have. So you're still in control. You still want to be able to understand the code. You still need to have all of those fundamentals. But Copilot helps just make things faster. It helps get you from point A to point B quicker. It helps do things like generate boilerplate code or just things like unit tests. So that way you can focus on higher level programming questions.
Can you add tablets that Pac-Man will eat and ghosts? Let's be specific since it wants me to be specific. Let's say 4 ghosts that chase Pac-Man. This should happen in a maze, right? Oh, you know what I should do? Watch. Okay, I'm not going to tell it this. I'm going to like get a screenshot of the maze and then give it to it. You know what? Let's do that right now. Let me look for a screen.
Some vision capabilities.
Pac-Man maze.
So this is something that's really cool that Reynolds about to show. You can actually use vision capabilities within GitHub Copilot. There are some limitations. As of yesterday, though, you can use it with GPT-4o, Claude, and Gemini models. So that's really exciting.
Quick. This should all happen in a maze like in this image. So let's see if I made this right. Can you create the game Pac-Man for me and try to make the UI just like it looked in the 80s? And I want to be able to play the game using wait, this is like hold up. That's like my old commands. What happened? Here it is. Can you add tablets that Pac-Man will eat and 4 ghosts that chase Pac-Man? When the ghost touch Pac-Man game is over, put a sign saying so. This should all happen in a maze. Like in this image. I don't think that's how you spell maze.
Oh, okay. Looks like we're getting some good breakdowns.
It's going to introduce the 4 ghosts. It's going to detect collisions with Pac-Man and the ghosts, display the game over message, create a maze. Yeah, I knew that. All right. Invalid chat message child. Child must be a TSX component that extends prompt.
Weird. Maybe just rerun the thing and see if that.
Let's see. I got this error.
Yeah, that's an error with the actual GitHub Copilot's response. So sometimes you might see this too.
Fix the code so that that error is addressed.
And then while this is going, Prince, I see you asked, how do we extract the code Copilot's written to make it a web-based app that others can access? Basically, what Copilot does is it will generate that code for you just in files and in your folder structure that you have open. So from there, you can use your code like you would any other coding project. You can put it into source control. You can deploy it to Azure, for example, and share that out. So essentially, the processes you did before for coding, for deploying is all the same. Just GitHub Copilot can kind of help speed up the process there. And then Shivani, you say, can you get Copilot to point out security risk points in the code? I think you can. I think you can just ask, hey, are there any security pitfalls that I should be aware of? And it can kind of do a scan and let you know. Obviously, again, this is definitely something you would want a human review in. You don't want to just take Copilot's word on something as important as security. Did it do it?
That's I'm going to try it again. And I'm not going to try to be too detailed right now. Let me go ahead and save the screen that I was at.
And you can actually, if you just want to do the same prompt you did before, you can, in the prompt panel, you can hit the up arrow and that will give you like a cycle through all your recent prompts. So you don't even have to retype it.
Hold up, I got a better picture right here. All right, so I'm screenshotting Pac-Man again, and I'm going to start with that. I'm basically going to show it this with the ghost, and then let's see what it could do.
Cool.
All right. Can you modify my code so that I could play Pac-Man like in the 80s? And look at the screenshot that I gave you. All right. the maze layout, the pellets, the ghosts, game over logic, score tracking. I wanted to like show that it's still thinking. It like we saw the little, okay, this invalid child. Child must be a TSX.
GitHub Copilot's having some issues right now.
Yeah.
Whenever you see that like X like that means that like the request failed for some reason.
Have you gotten like a similar error like this before?
I haven't gotten that one specific, but sometimes if you just like rerun, or you could like try a different model and see what happens.
Oh, okay. Yeah, let's try it. Let's try it one more time, and if not, let's start with a different model. See, this right here is like how you could tell that it's still working, but it's not like moving. You know, it should like spin or something, so we know that it's thinking. Let's try a different model. What would you say?
Let's do Claude 3.7. See what that does.
So when you're switching the models,
Weird.
A modified code.
Seems like we're having some.
So let me just ask it though, like, how do you fix this? How do you fix this error?
Wonder if like starting a new chat session might help too.
Must be a TSX component.
Yeah, it's not like your actual code that it's having issues with. It's like the response that chat's getting is an issue.
All right. Yeah, I don't want to eat up all our time, but I also don't want to give up. Oh, you know what? Maybe Olivia, I could play around with this, and then you could show your
Sure.
demo.
Yeah, we can do that and then switch over.
Yeah. If I come up with like something. All right.
Okay.
How do I do
cool.
that?
Let's do that. Okay.
Yeah.
So that was a really cool overview of agent mode from Reynold. I'm going to now demo a little bit more that you can do with agent mode. If y'all have heard the term MCP, that's very all the rage right now. MCP stands for Model Context Protocol. And so we're gonna go over a little bit of what that means and then how you can leverage those tools in VS Code itself. So if we bring up my screen, we can go ahead. I'm gonna kick us off on, there we go. So we have this repo here that I'm gonna be using. So we'll drop that link in the chat in case you wanna follow along. But let's talk a little bit about what MCP means. Like I said, that stands for Model Context Protocol. And it is an open protocol that standardizes how applications provide context to models. And like, what does that mean, right? Like that's a lot of words. So basically, when you want to get the best possible response to LLMs, you want to provide as much context as possible. So that way it can be as specific, it can understand what you're looking at, and you can get that best response. So what MCP does is it makes that process easier by connecting the LLMs to external tools that can give you more of that context. So that can be things like your database. So it can connect to your database and give the LLM that context. It can retrieve web data and give the LLM that context, all within the scope of your chat. So that way you don't have to go and add extra tools. You don't have to do all this crazy things. You can just configure the MCP server and it will have access to that context. So let's go ahead and see it in action real quick and let me know what questions you'll have as we go along. Like I said, I'm using this repo that Harold on the VS Code team created. And it's just this web app that I have running. It's a web app about MCP that I'll use MCP to show off. So that's fun. And then I'm going to head to VS Code here where I have this code in, and this is where it's running. So like Reynolds showed, I'm in agent mode, and I'm going to stay in agent mode here. And what we're going to do is first look at how you can configure an MCP server. So there is this MCP JSON file, and I'm going to just close out some of this to give more context. And you can essentially just do the configuration for whatever server you want. So I have a configuration for Perplexity in here. And it lets you actually, it might look like this is a hard-coded key, but it's not. It basically lets you get input from the API key here. So that way you don't have to hard code any of your secrets or anything like that. And then I also have the Playwright server. So let's go ahead and look at what that looks like. If you want to, you can even click the Add Server button here and show all the different ways that you want to add an MCP server. So I'm not going to dive into that because that's kind of next level. I want to kind of keep it at just what's configured here. And Yash, I see in your comment, you say that MCP helps models understand user goals better by sharing relevant info. That's a great summary of it. It basically just helps you kind of get more of that information and have a better response. And the MCP itself just makes it easier for tools to integrate for it. Okay, so let's see what this looks like. Once you have your MCP servers configured, you can run the MCP list servers command, and you'll see them listed here. And then you can start and stop the servers here. So I'm going to start my Playwright server, and you'll see it discover 29 tools, which we will show in just a second. And then I'm going to also start the Perplexity server. And then let's see, looks like, oh, I need to start Docker. Let's try that again. Let's see if we can get that going. Okay, let me real quick start Docker and make sure that that's going on. All right. So that should be going now. Let's try that one more time.
Did you already have Docker?
Yeah, I already have Docker installed. Yeah, and so it's basically asking for that for just the configuration we have set up. Okay, yeah, so I just needed to have that running here. So I already had Docker desktop. This isn't necessary for all MCP server configurations. It's just because of how we had this Perplexity server set up. So now that's discovered 3 tools. So let's look at our chat panel here. So we mentioned that it was showing the different tools. If you go in agent mode, you'll see the little tools icon here. It says I have 46 of them. If you click on that, it will show you all the tools that are available to chat. So what is a tool? That will be things like there's built-in tools in GitHub Copilot chat, like code base, which helps you get relevant context from your code base. Terminal last command, which will pull from the terminal, a lot of different ones there. And then we also see tools from our MCP servers that we just configured. So now we have all these tools that Playwright has, like Playwright Navigate, Playwright Click. If we scroll down, we have things like Perplexity Ask, Reason, and Research for the Perplexity server. So let's see that in action with agent mode. So I'm going to just do a couple of prompts here. I'm going to say research with Perplexity what the best MCP servers for front-end development are and create a splashy listing page. I'm going to hit enter, and then we'll see what agent mode comes up with. And we'll see, because I said research with Perplexity, it automatically knew, okay, you want to run the Perplexity research tool. So I'm going to hit continue. And this is where agent mode really makes the difference. If you're just using Copilot edits, you're not going to see these tools offered to you and to be able to continue with them. Agent mode is what gives you those capabilities with those tools. And so it lets you just inside the chat pane, hit continue. You don't have to change context. It will configure it for you and run it for you. And so that's really the power of agent mode here, and is where you can get the most out of it, is when it can offer up those tools. And, you know, I didn't say specifically run the Perplexity research tool. I just said, hey, research with Perplexity, and it could automatically tell from my prompt that that's what we want to do. So we'll give this a second to spin because it is kind of this Perplexity research that's going to take a little bit to go through.
While you're doing this, I'm making some progress with the Pac-Man. I could show you a quick peek, and then I'm actually recording it just so that you guys could see.
Sure, let's do it. Yeah, that's a good segue.
Yeah, let me go ahead and share my screen real quick. Right over here. Are you seeing it?
No, my screen's still up. So if you want to switch over to Reynolds.
Producer, are you able to switch over?
Okay, well, while we're waiting on that,
okay.
You can see, since mine's still showing, I'll just go ahead and walk it through because it did this. But you can see that we finished that ran Perplexity research tool. And so once it's done, you can actually see all of its response. So we get this entire response back from Perplexity. So again, I didn't have to go to Perplexity and do this. It's integrated because I set up that MCP server. So there's not, you know, those extra steps there. Super easy JSON configuration there. And then it's just going to continue through and be like, okay, now that I have this research, let's actually create the listing page that you asked for. So it's going to go through and try to edit some of these files. When one is setting up a local development environment to support MCP, what does one need to have? VS Code, Docker, anything else required? It's really going to depend on what MCP server you use. I would definitely recommend, we have docs about MCP servers. So if you go to our release notes, there's a whole section on MCP. Oh, here it is. And then there's a whole extra link to our documentation. So you can go here and be like, okay, how do I actually configure it? And then go through there. So I would just recommend, based off what you want, to follow that documentation because it's going to vary a little bit depending on what server you're setting up. Okay. And while we're over here, it looks like it's going ahead and editing our file. I'm going to minimize this terminal just to make it a little easier. And let's see what we got. It looks like it might have created a whole new file. Yeah, so let's see. It says it's there. Let's see what our app now looks like. Doesn't look like I'm seeing any differences. Okay, so this is our app. It looks pretty much the same. So we're gonna do what Reynolds did too and be like, I don't see. Oh, okay, that's why. It says we need to go to the actual MCP server's endpoint. So that's probably something that I could have been like, make it so that I can get to it. But it made this entire extra page. So just based off of what it researched, it pulled in those top MCP servers from Perplexity and then made an entire web page based off of that. So this is really, really cool because it went ahead and connected to Perplexity just based off my prompt in that MCP server configuration, got that information, was then able to translate that into my coding ask. And now we have this whole cool page that has a really great UI. It's flashy, it's got lights, it's got all that stuff, and all within agent mode. So you didn't have to go ahead and do that. Let's see. I see a question. Did the prompt actually spin up the Perplexity Docker image in the background to respond to your prompt? No, it didn't. I just had to restart Docker. I didn't have it running. So I only knew that I needed to do that because let's see if I can pull the terminal back up. In the terminal, I might have lost it. Yeah, because in the terminal it said there's an error. You don't have the Docker daemon running. So yeah, that was just the troubleshooting that happened there. Cool. Did I need to keep the changes in the prompt window? That's a great question. I didn't need to. The changes are there. If I want to save the changes, yes, I do. So essentially this is like unmodified changes that we have right now. If I just left the editor, they'd still be there. But like if I try to close, it's going to be like, oh, you're about to lose your changes to these files. Do you want to do that? So anytime you really like the state of what you're in, or you're at a good stopping point, I would definitely just go ahead and keep your changes. Some people like to keep after every single prompt. I usually don't. I just kind of keep going and going, which maybe isn't a best practice, but it will just keep building on itself. So like, for example, I could say something like, add a link to this new page from the landing page. And so it will just go ahead and build off of those changes. I don't have to keep them within every single checkpoint. You can, there's nothing wrong with that. But I just kind of like to keep staying in the flow and just keep editing it through. And then I know there was a question earlier about what does this add context button do? So while this is thinking, I'll go ahead and add it. But basically this lets you add different context. So that can be things like from your code base. It can be a specific folder. It will show all these different tools. So it kind of lets you add more of that context to send in with your prompt. So that's a really great way to configure. If you're like, hey, I don't think it really understood what's going on in my code, definitely make sure you're adding the relevant context there. Okay, and then let's see, we're seeing changes here. So now you can kind of see what these edits look like. If it's editing an existing file, it will, every time it edits a file, it will add it to this working set. And so you can just really quickly click on those to see the different changes to the files there. So it says it's done. Let's actually go in. If I go to the landing page, it added a little link to it. So again, that's just kind of how you can iterate over it, add those different options. I'm happy with where we're at now. So now at this point, I would probably keep, and now I have all my changes. I would then commit to source control, because that's still a great reminder too, is like always check in your changes, right? Because you don't want to make this cool app and then you lose it all accidentally. Cool. So yeah, that's MCP servers. Randall, do you want to head back over to yours? And then after that, we can switch back over to me and we can do a little bit of completions if people are good with hanging around.
Sure. Producer, can you switch over to my screen? There we go.
What? You've done a lot in the background.
Look at that. So yeah, let me refresh the screen. It starts off, it has the nice looking ghost actually. It has more pellets than it's supposed to, but
okay. It's a hungry Pac-Man.
So what's interesting is before Pac-Man was like was inside the walls and like going through walls, and the ghosts, like if I ate a pallet, it would turn, there it is, it actually turned blue. All right, so that worked way shit, and boom, I ate it. Nice. And I could try to eat this one, but if it touches me, the game's over.
Cool. How did you get to this point? Because I feel like this, I mean, it's only been like, I feel like 10 minutes, and this is a huge change in what it was before.
Yeah, so let me show you right here. Actually, let me maximize this. So basically, it prompted me where we last left off. It did ask me. It says, explain like what the issue was. It says, would you like me to help improve your Pac-Man game based on the classic 80s? Try to investigate this TSX component error further. And then I was just like, yes. Somehow I didn't see that
Let's do
it
it.
prompted me,
Hmm.
maybe it prompted me. And then after I said yes, isn't it cool that I recorded this so that you can
Yes.
see? Because then it'd be like, oh, wait a minute, he just copied and pasted.
Yeah.
We didn't see that Copilot did. So then it started working, and then it says, it's telling me what the progress is. It's checking the HTML, then it starts making the changes. Then it just does like a bunch of changes.
Okay. Yeah.
And then right off the bat, so this is where it was.
Oh,
So you
nice.
see how Pac-Man's in the blue line?
Hmm.
I'm just like, oh, that's nice, but it's like that's not how it's supposed to be.
Yeah. This is so good. This is such a good visual representation of how you can iterate with this and to get the changes you want.
Yeah, and it was going really fast too. So
Hmm.
then I just like did it on a full screen just to see everything. And that's when I saw that I could eat the monsters. I was like, oh, cool. I could show them. I'm excited. Um, and then, so then like we weren't able to switch over at the time. So then I continued working and then tried to do it again, showing it the image so that, it could have like less dots. Cause you see all those dots? It's not supposed to be
Yeah.
like that, right? And I asked it, make sure Pac-Man has, what did I say? Right over here. Make sure Pac-Man has palettes like in the image, and Pac-Man should not be in the blue bar. And then it gave me this error again. So then I just told it like last time to fix it. And then eventually it got it down to looking like this with less beads, with less palettes. And now the Pac-Man's like not in the blue bar. So it's pretty cool. So like now I could probably, like if you were doing this, you can go ahead and tell it, hey, at the end, make sure it says game over. And then you could probably try to have it add like multiple men. So Pac-Man have like 3 men. So that's it. Isn't that
That's
pretty cool?
awesome. I
You know?
no, I feel like this is so good because this is what it's like, y'all. Like you're not gonna always get exactly what you want right away. Like GitHub Copilot is a tool to help you get to where you want. You're gonna have to prompt it. You're gonna, it's a skill to even get the prompt specific and adding what you want to do. And so I think it's so cool. I'm glad that you recorded that too, so we could see in real time like what actually was happening behind the scenes.
Yeah, and like the learning experience that I want to share is that take your time. Like I'm on a live stream right now, and I'm just like I want it to work for you guys. So you guys can be like, yeah, and doing
It's addicting, isn't it? Yeah.
I want like that's what I want. So, but in that excitement, like I wasn't like reading carefully. I didn't see
Mhm,
that it prompted me, hey, do you want me to fix this? And all I had to do is just say yes,
mhm,
right? So, so just like take your time and like as you get better at interacting with agent, then you could start getting the feel of like how to communicate with it so that it works as effectively as possible, So just take notes of those things. Because like the more efficient you are with the way that you communicate, it's like a real person. There's some
mhm.
people you could bark at, you're not going to get a good response. Whereas if you know how to communicate with them in the
Mhm.
right way, the right tone, that it works for them, then you become a little bit more efficient and successful
Mhm.
at your goals.
Yeah, I totally agree. That was a great demo. I'm glad we got our working Pac-Man up there. And yeah, the chat's like, "This looks cool, awesome." So thanks for sticking around for that journey. Reynold, do you have a little bit of time to hang out? Should we go to completions, you think? Do a little bit of next edit suggestions?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
Also, I think Tammy asked a question. Did you answer this already? It says, did you
Yes,
need
I answered
to?
that.
Oh,
Mhm.
you answered. Okay. All right, cool.
Cool. So if we want to head back over to my screen, I can show off our last demo. So what we have been, we're going to change gears a little bit because what we've been showing is the chat experience with GitHub Copilot. So ask, edit, and agent. So when you see that panel that we've been showing off, that is one way to interact with GitHub Copilot. The other way is something called completions. And so that's going to be what happens when you are just typing code and it automatically adds this little ghost text here. That's what you can think of for completion. So you can tab to accept it. And you'll see completions have gotten very quick and very robust. And you can just select all that. So I kind of think of it as like when Copilot's like reading your mind. This is more for like when you're generating code directly in the file, and you'll have those completions along the way. So when you have GitHub Copilot, you have access to both these completions experience and the chat experiences that we are showing off. Just two different ways to interact with the tool. So I want to touch a little bit on completions and what's going on, one behind the scenes, and then something called Copilot Next Edit Suggestions. So if you have used GitHub Copilot really in the past like month, you've probably noticed an increase in speed and quality of completions. And that's because we switched to a model that we call GPT-4o Copilot. So this is the model that's currently behind the completions. This is a custom model. It's trained on, I think, almost 300,000 repositories and is based on 4o Mini. So it's got really high quality, very quick suggestions. So I just wanted to call that out as, just a little under the hood, what's happening in case you're wondering, okay, what does this pull from? Because we've been talking about models a lot here. Completions pulls from its own completions model. This doesn't have any of that, any of those models that are in the model picker we saw in the chat pane. It has this default completions model. We might have in the future other completions models you can choose from, but for now, the default experience is this GPT-4o Copilot model. Okay, so that kind of sets the base of what completions are. Recently, we launched something that we're referring to as kind of the next evolution of code completions. And it's something called Copilot Next Edit Suggestions. So I'm going to go ahead and enable that so we can see what that looks like. Once you have GitHub Copilot set up, you'll see this GitHub Copilot status menu in the bottom right corner. The easiest way to configure Next Edit Suggestions is to check this box here. And once that's set, let's see that in action. What Next Edit Suggestions does is it predicts your next edit. So completions traditionally are really great at generating new code, but a lot of times you actually are just editing existing code. And so that's where Next Edit Suggestions is really helpful, because when you start making edits to the code, it can predict your next edit based off what you just wrote. So it's very, very powerful. Let me show you what I mean. It's really great at things like detecting your change in intent. So if I were to change this class that I have here, that's just called class point, that 2D point. But if I were to change it to point 3D, what you see right now is an edit suggestion. So it automatically lit up here. It said, based off of me renaming this to point 3D, it predicted that I'm going to want to add another member variable for the Z coordinate. And that's exactly what I would have done. So it's really cool. It takes that like reading your mind to the next level because it says, oh, you made this edit. I bet you want to do this next. And I'm like, yeah, I do. So how do I actually accept that? You can click the tab key to navigate to that change. And you can tell them navigate it because this gutter menu kind of changed colors. And then to accept it, I hit tab again. And now that code is there. So you can basically just tab through your code. You'll see that I have another edit suggestion here. And you can tell again from this arrow in the gutter menu, which will also bring up the menu where you can accept the change directly from here. But I like to use the tab experience. So that way I'm not kind of, getting away from my code flow. So I'll hit tab to go to the change and then tab again to accept it. And now just with that one name change, I have all those different edit suggestions that are there. So yeah, that's kind of a really quick overview of it. There's a couple of other really handy scenarios for next edit suggestions. We were talking about spelling right before, Reynold. This is really great for catching spelling issues. So let's just say I'm just gonna misspell something here. So if I said like function there and I misspelled function, it automatically says, oh, did you mean function? So it kind of has your back there too. It's kind of like a built-in spell checker essentially. So again, I can just tab to accept that. And now I have my correct spelling. It's also really great for if you make logic errors. So this recursive Fibonacci method I have set up correctly, but if I were to accidentally set this condition up incorrectly, we can actually see next edit suggestions recognize that and said, oh, this is not going to work correctly because it's got the conditions flipped. So that's super helpful for if you accidentally are just coding really fast and you get your logic backwards. It can tell that this is not what you meant to do. So again, you can just tab and accept that. Let's see, what else do we want to show here?
Olivia, are there ways to customize it in terms of like shortcut keys in respect to this?
That's actually a good question. If there's you can change the key binding. Let's see. Let's open our keyboard shortcuts and see if that's an option. Oh yeah. So next edit.
I know some people like to have their own personalized.
Yeah, I think what you would need to do is you would change this here for your inline suggestion. So because these completions are all set up, you would want to change the key binding here if you want something different. So yeah, that's a great call out to get there. Let me just show again. You can open the command palette with Command Shift P or Control Shift P and search for open keyboard shortcuts. And that will bring this up so you can edit these at any time and choose which one you'd rather have.
Cool.
Yeah, great call out. One other thing this is great for is if you're copying code over. So I have this extra TypeScript file that has just a couple of math functions. Let's say I want to put multiply in here. And this actually isn't quite what I was hoping it would do, but this is relevant too. It's like, oh, do you want a divide method? What I was hoping it would do is this. Let's try one more time. Is actually okay, it's not gonna do it. But sometimes when you copy the code over, it will also match it to the style that you had. So I was hoping it would kind of give this style that we have right now. Let's try one more time to see if we can. Yeah, so this is what I was hoping it would do is add this style here to match all the styles. So that's super helpful if you're copying and pasting code, which I do quite a bit just to, save you some time there.
You're talking about the layout of the words and the spacing?
Yeah, exactly.
Nice.
Cool. That's a pretty quick overview of next edit suggestions. I don't think I see any questions in the chat about this. Again, you'll want to enable this in the Copilot status menu so you can toggle on and off. We'd love people's feedback trying this out. Let us know what the quality of suggestions looks like, the speed, what your preferences are here so we can refine this more. But yeah, so that's kind of an overview of the completions experience. Reynold obviously gave, a great overview of more the chat experience. So yeah, it's all just, to Reynold's point, it's all a tool that you get better at using. It's a learning experience. Take the time to review what Copilot's showing you. And you'll learn a lot along the way. I feel like even just us doing these demos, like every time I do a new demo, I'm like, oh, wait, I forgot you can do this. Or, oh, yeah, I should have phrased it like this. So, yeah.
The other thing that sometimes I tell people is I feel like the best way to learn is actually to try to like teach it and show it to someone.
Yes.
So if you guys want to take a little challenge and look at our docs, yeah, there you go. Is that our updates? If you see like any features that you would want to learn, just create a YouTube little channel and then show how you could uh, demo that experience, what you just learned to the world, and then share that with us. And if like several people like share that with us, uh, I could arrange to try to like give you guys a shout out.
Yeah, totally. I love that.
Yeah, because it's like the coolest way to learn
Mhm.
by actually teaching, because that way, not only are you learning to improve the communication of what you just learned, it forces you to like learn it better because you got to explain it to someone. And it's really great. It's a really great way to uh, practice presenting, because when you're at work, there's times that you need to share stuff with your teammates, and it shouldn't have to be like the first or the few times that you're communicating an idea. Because I've like had like several jobs where someone's trying to explain something to me, and I'm like brand new on the job, and they're just horrible at explaining it. But they bless their heart, they're just trying to,
Yeah.
but they're not used to doing it. They're just used to coming in, coding, and doing their work. So I feel like it should be all in our toolbox to teach what we just learned.
Mhm.
So feel free to just reach out to Olivia and I, letting us know if you actually did a YouTube video teaching something about that you just learned from our docs or our videos. And
Yeah.
yeah, we'll give you a shout out.
Absolutely. I know, I love that, and I think that that's so important. And to your point, Ronald, I mean, we do this like this is our job, and we do this all the time. And things are changing so quickly in this space that every time you learn something new. And so even if you feel like you have a good grasp of this, like definitely check back in on those skills. Like look at what you can do to teach people and share that knowledge out. And it's such a cool experience. I saw that there was a question about what's the best route to learn to code with VS Code and Copilot. And that was a great segue because we actually have a GitHub Copilot Skills Challenge going on right now. So if you complete that, it's got a list of modules they can do to kind of get started with GitHub Copilot and VS Code. And if you complete that, you actually get the chance to earn a digital badge as well. So I definitely recommend that if you are looking for those resources to get started.
And the digital badge, what can they what does that
It's
do?
basically it's actually the icon you see here is the digital badge, and that's just like something fun that you can put on like your website on your email, just like a little extra little token, like, hey, I completed this.
Nice,
Mhm.
cool. It's like a little certificate in a way.
Yeah, kind of, yeah.
Cool.
All right. Well, I think that that's it from us. Thank you all so much for joining. It's
Yeah, this
always
was,
so fun, like Ronald was saying, to teach people this because um, it's a really cool tool. It's powerful, and we learn a lot just as we go through this process as well.
yeah, I feel like I learned the most as a developer by the fact that I've had to like showcase a lot of these new technologies. So definitely take us up on that offer and like teach some stuff, put on a YouTube channel, and then share that with us. So
Yeah,
that'd be cool.
cool.
All right.
All right. Thanks for hanging out with us, y'all. Have a good day.
Thanks. All right. Bye.